Late in the evening, I welcome you all. Good evening, my dear scholars of Specialized BBA program.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Gaurav.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening.
evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. So more will be joining. Currently, we are having 26 people. So let more flow in. And we have completed. Just to brief you again, we have completed module one, and we are gradually moving into module two, which actually is more from management perspective, how theories are associated with what we have practices in business management. So moreover, it will talk about people management because ethics is always about relationships. So managing employee relationships, grievances, moral dilemma, that's what are going to be the topics that we are going to cover up in module 2. So yes, let me share the slides with you, and then we will deliberate on these slides. And what I got a feedback from other group is that what topics are there in this particular module are already been covered by you in one of the subjects in yester semesters. So you are familiar with these topics because these are these are being taught in various subjects from management perspective. So it could be part of HR also. It could be part of other subjects too. We are talking about ethical dilemma and decision making and people management and the relationships. So you are familiar. I've already got the feedback. You are familiar with these topics. So I would require more intervention of yours here, and more discussions are invited since you're already familiar with these topics. So I'm coming to the slideshow. Well, the module 2 is ethical issues and practices at workplace. And that's what we are going to discuss. We are talking about ethical dilemma, which is the first subtopic into it. And moreover, we will be talking about moral issues, moral dilemmas, and moral autonomy. So these points, I think so, are being covered in other subject as I got the feedback. So we'll start here again and see what this particular module has to offer formally to us. And let's start. So first thing is let's have a deliberation on moral issues. So moral issues, just to add on to what is there on the slideshow, it can be understood as an issue to be resolved not only by considering the technical aspects, but also by keeping moral values in mind. Those moral values which are part of you because you are groomed in a particular way, in a particular demographics. Moral issues, as the point says, is a working issue of moral concern with the potential to help or harm anybody, including oneself. So, many a times, like I should not be saying, but since reference is there, uh, suicide, it's harming oneself. So, again, if you look at the point, moral issue is a working issue of moral concern with a potential where you intend to either help somebody or harm somebody, and not only somebody. You may intend to, or a human may intend to benefit himself doing something, some maybe legal things or illegal things, and maybe harming himself. That could be a case. The moral issue subject could be more understood referring to the statements which are given here. First statement is moral issues are those which involve a difference of belief and not a matter of preference. So a moral dispute, if you see, would involve a factual disagreement or a disagreement in belief, where one or the other or neither belief is correct. So it would not involve a disagreement in attitude. Attitude is not a problem. Only thing is the belief is a problem. So that's one thing. Moral issues are those which involve the experiences of a special kind of feeling, and this feeling is said to differ intuitively from other kinds of feelings, such as religious or aesthetic feelings. You know, some people think these feelings arise or rise your conscience, and such feelings can be those of satisfaction, shame, maybe a guilt that you have, and many a time that becomes an issue because there is a guilt which you are carrying, and that's why you see even religions saying it that you should be presenting yourself in front of God, since you cannot say it to somebody, but you can certainly express yourself. If you have a guilt in front of the God, you can express yourself so that you become mentally stable and mentally say okay, otherwise you will carry that burden throughout. Moral issues are those actions which have the potential to help or harm others or ourselves. So that has already been taken in the first statement, and I'll not repeat it again. Moving ahead, there is a second thing here, which is moral dilemma, and ethical dilemma and moral dilemma. These two terms are synonymally being used. So it is also called as ethical paradox. So moral dilemma, ethical paradox, or ethical dilemma. Again, I repeat, moral dilemma, which is written on the screen, ethical paradox, and ethical dilemma. All are situations in which an agent who is the person who is undergoing a particular kind of situation, agent stands under two or more conflicting moral requirements, none of which overrides the other. Why you are in a dilemma? You have two situations, and both the situations, you pick up any of these. So one situation is not overriding the other situation. If it would have been doing so, then you would have already made a choice. But since no situation is overriding the other situation, that's why you are not able to decide. So there are certain beliefs, there are certain attributes based on which you will choose particular thing. But you see those beliefs and your those attributes, those are not helping you out to pick a particular task. So here, if you see, that's why it has been said, none of which overrides the other. So a closely related definition characterizes ethical dilemmas as situations in which uh, every available choice is wrong. That's why you're not making it many a times. It has been seen that way. So what philosophers say that each of the choice is seen as a wrong choice. That's why you are not able to commit to a particular choice. That's also possible. The term is also used in a wider sense in everyday language to refer to ethical conflicts that may be resolvable, uh, to psychologically difficult choices, or to other types of difficult ethical problems. What is common in the well-known cases of conflict? So if you consolidate the cases, what is common in the cases of conflict? You pick up any case. In each case, you will find that the agent regards himself as having moral reasons to do each of the two actions, but doing both actions is not possible. So many a times it is not that you are not able to decide upon it. You are able to decide that both, you are able to know that both actions are critical. Both actions are critical, but then ultimately you are not able to decide which action to perform. So again, I'll repeat, an agent regards himself as having moral reasons to do each of two actions, but doing both actions is not possible. Ethicists have called situations like these moral dilemmas. So the crucial feature, if you see, of moral dilemma are that the agent is required to do each of two things or more things. The agent can do each of the actions but the agent cannot do both or all of the actions. The agent thus seems condemned to moral failure, and no matter what he does, he will do something wrong or fail to do something that he ought to do. Irresolvable, that's what it says. A moral dilemma is an irresolvable moral conflict, or that is, no fully satisfactory resolution is possible, since all possible options for action leave behind a remainder that does not cease to be morally binding or morally correct. So moral dilemmas are often used to help people think through the reasoning for their beliefs and actions, and are common in psychology and philosophical cases, classes, literature, whatever you pick up. You will find moral dilemma always being discussed and being part of even the academic literature. Going ahead, if you see, these are three common, very common available examples. You could be asked about the examples. So the first example is the classic lifeboat dilemma. You pick up any literature, you will have reference to this particular uh, example, which says that there are only 10 spaces in a lifeboat, but there are 11 passengers on a sinking ship. A decision must be made as to who will stay behind. So you have to decide, though you know the outcome, but you will not be, the decision is going to be very difficult. Whom to leave? That's where the moral dilemma rises. The second is about a train at the fork of the tracks. Fork means where the tracks meet and the change of track happens. So train is there and it's a speeding train with broken brakes, so it cannot be stopped. And there is a lineman. There's a lineman with lever, and now it's electronic thing. So with the click of button, it shifts the tracks and sends it. So there is a fork. There's a fork. So a train is coming and there's a fork. There are two ways on which the train can go. But it's been said in the example that on the left there is a woman crossing with her two children, and on the right there is a man doing routine maintenance on the tracks. So the lineman or the engineer who is operating onto the track must decide which side to aim the speeding train towards, because he knows the outcome of it. There's a woman with two children on one side, and there's a employee of railways performing his duty, and that is a routine maintenance that he is doing on the track. Now it goes on any branch of the fork, outcomes are known, and ultimately it's a dilemma. So this example has also been quoted quite humongously and quite widely for justifying what is moral dilemma. And the third example is also being quoted. It is about euthanasia. Similar examples about doctors are being quoted instead of referring here the helper is wife, there the helper is doctor. So euthanasia, this is again example of euthanasia. Is euthanasia right or wrong? And the example said a husband learns he has a terminal illness, and he decides to ask his wife for assistance in ending the pain before it gets too bad. So what he should be doing, what the wife should be doing. These are dilemmas. These are dilemmas, and similar dilemmas you will find in organizations also. You may be a manager. There's already a task. You have a deadline, very critical deadline. But you get to know that one of your subordinates who is integral part of your team, the health of the mother. He got a call that the mother is not keeping well and she needs to see the doctor. Now the mother needs to be rushed to doctor. What you should be doing as a manager? Shall you be more focusing on your task because deadline is evening, or you should be relieving the person to and let him apply for a leave for a day and take care of his family? We always talk about work-life balance. The mother, very crucial, is also critical health-wise. She is to be taken to the hospital. what you will do as a manager. That's where his dilemma is. So to extend with these examples, I won't take this in details, but you can very well. These are the directives for you. You can pick up everything. We had a case of spying currently. Uh, you could be on either side. I have no objection to that. But that has been mentioned in the fourth point, government is spying. So a death penalty. Many times we have seen a death penalty being converted into lifelong imprisonment. So whether the person should be given death penalty for the heinous crime the person has done or not, that needs to be decided. So moral dilemma is there. Doctor-assisted suicide. I just talk about euthanasia, uh, ending the drug war. It's also like government wants all tobacco companies to put in the pictures on the and the photographs on the packets, but they cannot stop it because on other side it is also generating the revenue. So government can be in ethical dilemma. Government spying, prison reforms. So legalizing a drug, marijuana in this case, written on the slide. Fossil fuels versus renewable energy. Shall we go for continue with the way the cars are being produced, or we should promote electric cars? For electricity also in households, what we should do? We should use fossil fuels like coals, which are generating again pollution somewhere, wherein we should go with renewable energies like windmills or solar panels and so on. In Gujarat, we have come up with one good place where we have come up with the power plant. But then, if you plan such a project, then the investment is required. Who will bear the expense of the investment? I was discussing the on similar lines with the previous batch also. So who will bear the investment? Government is not having the money by itself. Government is not earning anything. Till the time you uh, contribute to them through levies, they impose on you. So if investment is required, then obviously it will come from the public itself. Public has its own budget. If you are going to impose some more taxes, then they have to cut down their lifestyle. So in that case, the current quality of life will go down. Though in long run it may benefit people, but there's where the dilemma is. Government is also dilemmatic about implementation of policies. Well, we are moving ahead, and here we see steps in confronting moral dilemmas. So, in order to overcome the said dilemmas that we have just discussed, one can follow one or more of the following steps. That depends. So, first is identifying the pertinent moral factors and reasons. It involves addressing solutions for conflicting responsibilities, opposing rights, and income incompatible ideal involvements. Second is collecting all the available moral considerations, so which are relevant to the moral factors in which person is involved. Ranking the above collected moral considerations on the basis of importance as applicable to the particular situation. You may be in a situation. Take it this way. Uh, this also clicked in the previous dialogue which I was having with the other batch. And how we see in the management is everything is important. So you may have multiple tasks at your hand. Everything is important. Everything needs to be done for executing your business effectively. But then there are certain tasks which needs more priority. And what we say in management when we are working professionally out, that there is always two things you are stuck into. What is important and what is urgent. And who will do this rating? You need to do this rating based on the outcomes, based on the scenario in which you are. So which particular task has to be executed first out of the total 10 tasks that are in hand with you? So you need to see what is going to impact delay in particular task. Delay in which particular task is going to impact the outcome more and will have negative impact over the business operations that you have. And accordingly, you have to make a decision. Now, whatever say rankings you have done, make factual inquiries. In other words, finding alternative courses of actions to resolve the moral dilemmas and following the complete implications of each. And we always talk about equifinality. I may have talked about previously also with you. So this is again like you have more than one solution to the problem that you are into, which is into moral dilemma. So what you need to do, that needs to be identified. But you will do all analytics about what need to be done and try to resolve so that the minimum negative impact is there. So you are digging into every course of action and you are picking up the most appropriate course of action. Inviting discussion suggestions. There are parties involved whenever you are into some kind of decision making. So when you are into society, make sure that there are prominent people in the society who are part of the decision making. You are in the organization, you work as a team. So people, the contributors of the team should be part of it, part of that decision making. And when you're outside, it may be say a group of friends. So you all sit and decide upon and everybody should be involved in critically examining the moral dilemmas, because everybody has a different theory, as we have seen in the previous session also through AV. Everybody has a different theory and everybody is right because they have justifiable reasons behind their own belief. So in that case, it has always been suggested. I've suggested this previously also. Sit in the board and decide as a group that what is more crucial. So you should be debating upon after critically examining the moral dilemmas. Moral dilemmas are there because there are more than one say activity that you can perform. So which is the most crucial activity that needs to be critically examined? But you are not going to the sole examiner of that. There is a team. You're working in tandem with other people. Call those people who are part of that decision making and make sure that you take appropriate decision. And last is taking a final decision. So that's also important. Uh, you cannot have more than one solution. So, you are into something. Again, I'll try to project this as part of a strategic management. So you are into a situation where you can formulate more than one strategy. So you are exploring a new market, you are entering into a new market. So you are new market entrant based on uh, market being less populated and consumable till now. So you have a very high potential there. So how you should be launching yourself? What should be the product line? What is specific, say, kind of customers you should be targeting, etc. So you may have more than one outcomes of it. Now that's what is a dilemma. What you should be doing, what kind of products you should be having. There could be a dilemma, and that's why you call people and you discuss across the boards. So people may suggest, then you critically analyze it. Now you may have more than one solution that we should do this, we should do this, we should do this to enter a new market, but you cannot do everything. So a final decision needs to be taken on most appropriate activity that you need to perform, and that's what is the final point. These points are strategically being placed in this module so that you also examine these points from a strategic perspective. How these points in decision making are applicable when you are into business decision makings and you are into strategy formulations, where decision making is an integral part. So these are 6 points. Moving ahead, Let's see this. I have a strong opinion that you already know about this. So ethical dilemmas in business, though I have tried connecting previous points also with how we use those points in business management. So here, ethical dilemmas are especially significant in professional life as they frequently occur in the workplace. Some companies and professional organizations such like CFA, etc., adhere to their own codes of conduct and ethical standards. Violating these these codes of ethical standards may lead to disciplinary sanctions. So you will be taken as a defaulter. Almost every aspect of the business can become a possible ground for ethical dilemma that we have already seen. The major reason behind this ethical dilemma is because people are working on various operations. It's people who work, and this may include relationships with co-workers, management, clients, business partners, and so on. I do not know whether you have heard of the theory of FIT fits. So when we talk about efficiency of people, when we talk about their belongingness to the organization, we talk about various fits. It's people to people fit. That means if I am an employee, how fit I am with the other colleagues of mine working at the same level. Now, it is also about me to job fit, the kind of activities that I'm asked to perform, how comfortable I am with them, you know. So allocating me is again a dilemma to the person who is allocating me the responsibility, because he need to understand one thing, that what is the competency level of mine. So it is person to job fit. It is also person to team fit. A person may be very good working individually on a particular task, but when it comes to projects, when you assign a team, you have to see the camaraderie between people. So person is very, very good, but you will be in dilemma if you do not do all the researches, as I've talked about research and finding out the possible attributes, doing the analysis, in-depth analysis in previous points also, a previous slide also. You need to do the analysis of that. That how good these people are compatible with each other. What are their common point of interest? So it is a person to a team fit. And on the large, it is person to organization fit, So how we define person to organization fit? A person will always be in a dilemma if he will find out that what you mentioned in general documents as your strategic statements like mission, vision, objectives, goals, when it comes to actual working, you are not abiding by it. And those are generic statements to be only documented for some kind of quality documentation. But in practice, it is not existing. But when the person joined the organization, person did the research about the organization, he went to the mission and the other statements, the vision statements, and he thought that this particular company is tending to move in a particular direction. That direction in which that person who is seeking an employment with that company is comfortable with. So he would like to join the company based on what has been projected by the company. But when he joins the company, when he lands up the company after a month's time, he is into ethical dilemma that what he actually is doing is not in line with what has been mentioned in his strategic statements. So it is also about person to organization fit. And when you talk about all these fits from HR perspective also, I may have people with the HR as a specialization. So this is a topic of HR, sticking to our ethics and dilemmas topic. You may find people not efficient enough just because this fit is missing. A person is not comfortable with the co-workers. A person is not comfortable with the team. A person is not, which includes the management, obviously. It includes even his comfort level with the type of clients which come, the way the client speak. You may have hired somebody based on the communication skills, but then your operations, you have moved the person on a project which requires more efficiency in the vernaculars. and person is very, very efficient in speaking English. You put him there, and ultimately is not able to speak that Hindi. And what will be the outcome of that? It will be reported that person is not able to impress the clients because you're putting wrong person at the wrong place. And that's why it is very, very important, very, very important for you to see the competencies of people so that they are not in ethical dilemma. That how to deal with the clients, how to ignore with the clients, how to ignore the clients and so on. That should not happen. So that's what is are the points here. One more point, people's inability to determine the optimal solution to such dilemmas in a professional setting may result in serious consequences for businesses and organizations. So, if you are not able to decide upon, you will not be able to take any action. So if no actions are there, there will be no value results, and ultimately you are going to sink as an organization. So in order to solve ethical problems, companies and organizations should develop strict ethical standards for their employees. Every company must demonstrate its concerns regarding the ethical norms within the organization. And that's why, since I was touching the example of HR, so that's why HR policies are there. What should be the, say, the pay scales? What should be done for improving the employees and so on? So you're keeping the motivation up. How the employees are going to work. So certain responsibilities of the employees needs to be documented. What are the protocols? They need to be understanding that. Trainings are advised for the new incumbents so that they understand the actual culture, the way things happens in the organization. So inductive lessons needs to be given. So every company must demonstrate its concerns regarding the ethical norms within the organization. In addition, companies may provide ethical training for their employees to make sure that they understand what is the requirement of the organization. Moving ahead, these are terms I got the feedback. I've already got the feedback that these are being known to you. Moral autonomy, which is philosophy, which is self-governing and self-determining. It actually means acting independently without the influence or distortions of others onto yourself. The moral autonomy that relates to the individual ideas about right and wrong conduct, uh, which is independent of ethical issues. So it's about moral autonomy. We are not talking about the ethical thing. Moral. So we have already discussed uh, the difference between morals and ethics. In last class also I told you, and I said I was impressed that day that people know it. So the concept of moral autonomy helps in improving self-determination. It is concerned with the independent attitude of a person related to morals or ethical issues. And this concept, if you go through the literature, you will find this concept of moral autonomy in study of morals, study of ethics, and even in political philosophy. So what are the skills related to have moral autonomy that we are going to discuss? And it's on the slide. So if I see myself, how can I have moral autonomy? What skills I required? What I needed to do? What I need to do? Sorry, what I need to do. So I should have ability to relate the problems with the problems of law, economics, and religious principles. And it is not me who can do anything. If I am in India, then the Constitution of India applies on me. If I am into any organization, then the protocols of organization applies to me. So I should be able to relate what I am doing to what the protocols are saying. So it is essential to have the ability to analyze the problem and find the relation with the existing protocols, including laws, or the topic of issues with the existing principles on that topic. So what I am trying to do is, I am trying to build up, I'm trying to construct a building. So what are the building norms there? I have to abide by it. So if that is in like the structures in Delhi NCR, then what say environmental clearances I need to take, etc. It's not that I'll start building it. I have to abide by certain regulations. And I have to make sure that what I deliver to my people in this example of real estate, that is a quality product. So the building will not collapse if there is an earthquake of magnitude 5.0. Because general practice is that Delhi NCR is already on the Richter scale 4. And we tend to build a building which is much higher, at least 2 point higher than the particular scale. So even if there is an earthquake, that's my moral responsibility, you know. And what I'm doing is I am also seeing that the product that I'm developing, it is under the regulations which are laid down by somebody. That's what we are saying here. Ability to relate the problems with the problems of law, economics, and religious principles. And as I've already said, the point of issue with the existing principles on that point. So here point of issue is building constructing a building. And what are the existing principles on that? I have to abide by it. See what is the relation between both. And that's the point, ability to relate. Coming to second point, skills to process, clarify, and understand the arguments against the moral issues. As I'm trying to state it again and again, that two people will think differently and they have justifications. So if somebody has done something, there has to be some kind of moral justification behind it. And you should be able to, whatever you are doing, you should be able to justify that, you know. So if the issue is against some moral values or the ethical values to be followed in the society, then clarity should be maintained about the differences and similarities. Why you are performing an operation that way, where you are not abiding by ethics norms, or why you are abiding by ethic norms. So in both cases, you need to maintain the differences and similarities. And both of these differences and similarities are to be judged based on why they are a matter of concern and in what aspects. So why you are not abiding by what has been prescribed. So a justification for that needs to be given, and that will give you the moral autonomy. Coming to the other point, ability to suggest the solutions to moral issues on the basis of facts. We have already seen casuistry, where we try to justify any particular action based on the cases that has happened in previous time. And that's what we will do here. Casuistry has been applied here. We have seen that theory, isn't it, in the AVs? Ability to suggest the solution to moral issues on the basis of the facts. So there had been certain facts. There had been certain experiences based on which you are going to justify. So if the moral issues are not fulfilling the needs to be, then the solutions are to be suggested according to the moral issues based on the facts and truths and the cases on that issue. The suggestions that you give must be consistent and must include all the aspects of the problem. All the aspects of it. Partiality is not allowed, you know. Partiality on a particular aspect is not allowed. So you may be doing something, but to justify your work, you will partially pick up the regulation and you'll say, this is what I'm abiding. So that's actually incomplete reporting that you are doing, which is that particular module is not with us. That's about the research integrity. So under reporting is also an ethical misconduct of a research. Coming to the other point, must have the imaginative skills to view the problems from all the viewpoints. So hypothesis, creating hypothesis is very, very important. So if something has been done, why that particular thing would have been done, what would have been the possible reasons behind it, that needs to be identified. So after having known about the facts and illusions of the issue, a clear understanding is attained in viewing the problem in all kinds of viewpoints that you collect. This enables one to be able to suggest a proper alternative solution because you are considering all the viewpoints. And the last point on the slide is tolerance while giving moral judgments, which may cause trouble. So, not everybody is happy with what you give as a judgment. So a tolerance to the moral judgment, that is what is required. So when the whole analysis is made, considering all the viewpoints, as we have talked about in the previous point, all the viewpoints of the issue, the final output must be or might not be pleasing to the persons involved. Hence, while declaring the judgment of the decisions taken, a detailed description of the actions done should be given. Why a particular decision is being taken. And that's why in organization, there is always minutes of meeting. Those are being recorded. When you talk about quality documentations and your execution of plans, there is always white papers which are created, minutes of meetings which are created, so that you write down why particular decision is being taken, what are the basis of it. So what were the recordings, those were there. And there is always a bench which tries to give a justification or which tries to critically analyze what is being said. So I was saying a detailed description of the action should be given, while the actions ought to be done should be presented in a better way. What you need to do after that judgment. It should have the guideline. And it should also give a clarity that the decisions have been taken without any partialities towards any party. So these are the points and of moral autonomy. And if you are able to do it, then you will say, oh, I am a person with moral autonomy. Moral autonomy plays very vital role in developing the virtue ethics. We have seen that point, when I refer to the example of Mr. Tata. So, when you have moral autonomy, when you are doing everything right, appropriately right, you are keeping everything in mind, you are considering every possible reasons behind taking a decision and the impact that it can bring in. So you become that person of a stature. And then obviously we have seen that theory uh, where we took up the example of Batman and Joker. So, there was a belief last statement which said that if Batman is killing the Joker, then we should not doubt the personality of the person because, he is doing everything almost right. And there has to be some kind of reason. Can he do something wrong? Answer will be no. Can he do something wrong just for sake of doing? Answer is no. So even if he commits a mistake, that will be accepted, widely accepted by the society, because his stature has become so good just because the person has developed the moral autonomy, and this autonomy is developed because of certain building of or say building of certain attributes inside himself. So you can very well relate now, moral autonomy. So we are moving towards ethical decision making, and we have. I'll take one or two more slides, and then we will rest. Uh, so ethical decision making, that's integral part of our decision making, and every decision is. You cannot live without taking a decision. So whatever you are taking as a decision, whatever action plan you are offering, that is going to impact somebody or the other, directly, indirectly, directly, transitively. So we need to see that whatever actions we do, there is always an ethical challenge to it. And that's why we need to understand what is ethical challenge, which is on the slide. And it says right and wrong, good or bad, what may I do, what must I do, which is the best thing to do. Every thinking person grapples with this issue over a period of time. But most people make their choices haphazardly without digging into the information and hope that things will turn out okay. But that's actually not. There is a better way. You analyze. And whenever you are making tough choices, what are the reasons behind you taking that decision? That needs to be analyzed. We have already seen in not autonomy. We have to make sure that we analyze every aspect of it. So the other point is, when people think about the different components involved in ethical decision making, they tend to become better at making tough choices. So, you are sometimes not able to make choices because you are weak in making a choice, because you are soft towards the harm that it may bring in for shorter durations, but in longer term, it is going to have a larger impact. So in that case, sometimes the choices are not being made. So, uh, tough choices needs to be taken, and that you will only be able to take if you consider all viewpoints from all directions. Their decision making improves in three ways: clarity, consistency, and completeness. So 3C model has been defined in ethical challenge, and we'll take this up as the last slide, the upcoming slide, which is talking about clarity, which is talking about consistency, and which is talking about completeness. So moving ahead, clarity means that people can describe what they are choosing in a specific situation and why. It is good to be able to explain one's choice. It's funny when you ask people why you made the choice, they say, I did what I felt like doing. That's not an adequate explanation. If someone else is suffering because of your choice, then in that situation, it actually is not. But I felt like doing it, so I did it. That's not an excuse. That's a very weak statement from a person who says that way. There has to be justification, and that's why we are learning these theories, because you will be part of the corporations, and whenever you are going to take a decision, there has to be some kind of uh, document referencing to the decision that you have taken. So hopefully now onwards, whenever people ask you about decision making, or whenever you are in the process of decision making, make sure that you have some kind of valid justifications to what you have done. So if you can explain your reasoning to yourself, first of all, uh, you are in a better position to examine the adequacy of your choice and determine how you might want to do things differently in the future. Point two on the slide is about consistency. The choices are consistent when they reflect the decision maker's understanding of the principle that rests behind specific choices. So as we have seen in the previous theories also, I may take a particular action because it's pleasing me. That's what is a theory that we have taken up. So it may be I talked that way in the previous session also. I said I've invested 50,000 rupees on buying a bicycle because it gives me a pleasure. I may be riding very less, maybe 5 to 8 times a month. But when I'm riding, I should be comfortable. So I've chosen a particular bicycle which is quite comfortable, which is also a brand, which is imported, which is aluminum alloy, which is having hydraulic brakes into it, which is having certain gear systems of higher end and so on. So I've chosen a particular cycle, but because it gives me the happiness. But how, you know, people may take this very negatively also. They'll say 50,000 on a particular bicycle, that's too high. Bicycle costs only 7 to 8,000, 10,000 or 15,000 rupees. It's not more than that. But I should be able to justify some way. It is also about keeping myself healthy in the longer run. When I go on long drives, I drive till maybe India Gate, and from my home it is to and fro almost 55 kilometer, which I'm doing. So I should have some comfortable bicycle with me, which is not damaging my knees. The justification needs to come, the justification needs to come. So how you're going to justify in a valid way the uh, choices that you are making. Coming to the last point, it is about completeness. So ethical decision making is complete when it takes into account everyone. I've already talked about the viewpoints. So you take various viewpoints, you take various viewpoints on a particular aspect. You should not be leaving those viewpoints. Every viewpoint is having certain attribute associated with it. And that's why whenever you are taking a decision, ethical decision, every viewpoint of a person who is getting impacted by that particular operation or action of yours or decision of yours, that should be viewed in a positive way. And if you think that people have a different opinion and they are not changing, then you need to even train those people, including your employees, including all stakeholders. So, it may be like I want to go for, coming from IT background, I can include this example. I want to go for automation. So, I am going for the automation, but there are ancillary units around me which cannot invest that much into technology, or they do not have their technical competency. From where they'll bring in people who will install IT infrastructure to them, who will do the feasibility of IT infrastructure to them. What is the total amount they need to invest on IT infrastructure and on the fees that are incur? So what about the licensing fees of the softwares they are going to buy? So, there will be certain points which will come up. I have my own perception because I foresee, coming from technical background, being a bigger company, I also have the money with me. I can invest very well. I'm placed very comfortably. So I am going for that investment. But then what about my ancillary units? Till the time automation of ancillary does not happen, the value chain will not be completed. Even though I have done automation, but that will be of no use till the time I connect the complete value chain. So inward logistics and outward logistics. So the people who supply me the raw materials to the people who supply the finished products to the end users. In addition to that, the marketing team, which makes people knowledgeable about the products and the company existing, everybody should be using the same set of technology. So in this case, what will happen? When I'm asking the ancillaries, they'll say, we do not have money, etc., etc. So they have their own justifications behind it, which are valid justifications. Those are very small companies. How those are going to invest such a high amount? If they have the amount, they will invest in expanding their current operations, but they will not like to diversify into totally different kind of operations management. So in that case, there needs to be emphasized on. They needs to be trained on that. They need to be helped. For them, it is ethical decision, because I will keep on changing. I'm a bigger company. Their profit depends upon me. And ultimately, if they will not automate, and if my value chain is suffering because they are not automating, in that case, I may drop the contract or I may not renew the contract after it gets complete. So I may look for somebody who may supply me the raw material and is also using the technology. So what will happen in this case? That company will die. That's why they need to be trained. Ethical decision making, many a times is not given the analytics into it. Here you make sure that company, you do the analysis for them. Even if they require hand holding, you do it for them so that they are comfortably placed, because they are working for you for last 15 years or 20 years. You should not be dropping them simply. If you are changing, they should also change. So as I gave you example of Mr. Tata, when Tata Nano's plant in Singur got closed in West Bengal, they shifted to Gujarat. And what happened there? I hope I've taken up that example. If not, I'll give the excerpt of that. So when they moved to Gujarat, they adopted certain villages and certain ITIs and polytechnics, where they trained the local people so that they can work in the companies. They completely shifted the ancillaries, because Tata needs raw material. There are ancillaries around Tata which are going to provide the raw material. Tata is not making its nuts and bolts. Tata is not making its windshields. Tata is not making its wipers. Tata is not making its steering. Tata is not making its ACs. Tata is not making its wheels, tires. Tata is not making its bearings. So these are ancillaries around. And these ancillaries will be able to work only if the Tata is successful. If Tata fails, then all these ancillaries being present around have no option left. But as a duty, when Tata was shifting, whatever expenses were happening to them, they have to wind up all operations. They made sure that these ancillaries are also ported with them to the new location. But the manpower cannot be ported. People may not be ready to leave their domiciles. So what happened there is they moved, the plants moved, whoever wanted to move moved, and then the villages were adopted. So few hundred villages were adopted where identification of people were done, that who has what level of education and what competencies, and further competencies were furnished and developed in people so that they can work on site in establishing first the industry, and second, once the industry is established, to work on the assembly lines. So, ethical decision, when you talk about ethical decision, this could be talked and this could be supported by numerous examples. Here is one example that I shared with you, and hopefully you have got it. So we'll close here on slide 14, and we'll be taking up other things, ethical challenges, other things into it, and we'll proceed further. Anything from your side, if you want to add on, you are most welcome. Also, it's time, so time to wind up the operations also. So anything, if somebody wants to say, last 10 seconds. Okay, no response coming. So I hope that you got what we were trying to cover today, and I'll take your leave till next session, and we'll meet again next weekend, Saturday. By the time, enjoy your Sunday, enjoy your week also, and live well, do well. Have a nice time, gala time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Do well, do well. Always live
Thank you,
good,
sir.
live big, live good, grow, achieve new heights. Keep moving. Bye-bye.